effective communication as a whole. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the effects and the quality that you need to have when it comes to tonality on the call. But we're just going to dive into all the little micro things you can do to have a macro kind of result in terms of communicating to the client. So the first thing I want you guys to know is when it comes to communicating, your ability to listen and ask deep versus wide questions is what's going to dictate how much valuable information you actually extract. Um, when I say that, do you guys understand the difference between deep versus wide questions? Not at
No.
all. Perfect. So when I'm asking wide questions, I'm learning a lot about very shallow things. Like I learn about who they are, where they live, what kind of dog they have, how many girlfriends they had in the past, if they're married. I'm learning about all these things. I'm learning about what their goal is, how much money they want to make. I'm learning about all these things, but I'm not going deep into any one thing, right? So instead of learning everything about his life, I want to learn everything about this one specific topic of where they're at, where they want to go, why they want to go there, and how they believe they can actually achieve that, and what do they think is the best way to get them there, right? So for example, instead of saying, okay, how much do you make right now? I make this much. Okay, cool. How much do you want to make? I make this much. Okay, cool. So what do you think stopping you from getting you there? That's wide. That's going wide because we can get through that quick. We can have a 5-10 minute sales call asking those questions. But now it's like, how much are you making right now? Oh, I make this much. Okay, are you happy with that? Well, no, I'm not really happy with that. Okay, why aren't you happy with that? How much do you want to be making? I want to make this much. What would that change for you? What do you want to? Why do you want to make that much? I really want to make that
Yeah.
much because I want to get a house for my family. Oh, you want to get a house for your family? Now you're learning more about them. You're getting deeper into their why. People do everything for their why, right? A lot of people focus on just the what, but the why is the most important thing. And this is not even just sales. When we were training a sales team, the biggest thing we would do to keep our reps motivated was to learn their why and use that to motivate them, right? Just for a little example, if I'm communicating to someone and let's say Brandon said his why is to buy a house and he's a sales rep on my team and he wants to get a house for his family, and let's say his sales start to slow down or start to slack. I'm not going to go to Brandon and be like, Brandon, you need to make more sales. You need to make more money. You need to close more, dude. I'd be like, Brandon, how much are you closing right now? Okay, your goal is to get a house for your family in the next 6 months. Are you going to hit that goal closing this amount? Or do you need to step it up to XYZ, right? Now I'm tying his why into what I want him to do. So he is a lot more like on fire to get it done because his why is on the line. His whole reason for doing it in the first place is on the line, right? The worst sales trainers are the ones that said, oh, make more money. Well, no shit. Everyone would want us to do that. But when you talk about their why behind it, it's so much deeper. And it's the same thing with getting your prospect to actually, close the deal, because at the end of the day, you want to bring up why they should close the deal. It's like, yeah, I need some time to think about it. It's like, well, didn't you tell me you wanted to get a house in the next 6 months? If you think about this for 3 months and it takes another 3 months to get this thing going, do you think you're going to get that house in 6 months? Probably not. Right. So now we're talking about their
Yeah.
why. They're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't spend so much time thinking about this. And there's a lot of other things we can get to when we get to the pitch. But essentially, you want to be able to ask deep questions. You want to go deep on a very few topics, right? Same thing with expertise. You dig deep enough, you're always going to hit gold, right? So let's talk about 5 steps to effective listening and communication, right? So, firstly, there's receiving, and we're going to explain how to do each of these in a moment, which is basically physically hearing the message and recognizing it as incoming information. Secondly, we have decoding, which is assign meanings to sound and visuals according to your own values, beliefs, ideas, expectations, roles, needs, and overall personal history. Right. A lot of people decode things based on their assumptions, right? It's like when you say something, you meant it a certain way, but because of someone else's personal history, their beliefs, their values, they heard it a different way. Right. So there's also remembering, right? Which is essentially storing information for future processing. Then there's evaluating, which is evaluating the quality of the information and look for hidden gems in it. Then there's responding to the message now, because if you want to show the prospect that you're an effective listener, you have to respond effectively. That's the best way to show someone that you listened, right? When you want to tell someone, hey, I care about what you're saying, your responses have to be on point. And if they're not, then they're just going to believe you don't care about what they're saying. So we want to respond based on the situation and the nature of the actual information we get, right? So we also want to use information in a relevant setting, right? If it's not relevant, then obviously it's just going to seem like you don't care, or you're just not listening at the end of the day. So let's get into how we actually implement these things. And I'm going a little fast because every time I've ran this, it's taken about an hour and a half instead of 1 hour. So I want to condense it a little bit, so I'm not keeping you guys too long. But this one's going to be a little more interactive, so I'm going to be calling on you guys in a second here. So receiving, let's talk about how do we implement this. Position ourselves accordingly and use listening body language. It's huge. Listening body language is a huge thing. We're going to dive more into that in a second. But not only for the person understanding that you're listening, but also our bodies naturally gravitate towards however we're acting. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of confidence in motion or emotion in motion. Have you ever heard of that?
Was that Tony Robbins?
Well, I wouldn't. I don't. That like where
I
I
don't
heard it
know.
from wasn't Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
He might have said it at some point. But where I heard it from, actually, yeah, I have heard Tony Robbins say that in particular. I don't know if he invented it. I'm not gonna say he did or didn't.
Who
Um,
knows?
but it's essentially a thing where, however you position and move your body, you're naturally going to act and react. Right. If you want to be more confident, the fastest way to do it is to just act more confident with your body language. If you want to, if you want to appear or feel any certain way, the quickest way to make yourself happy when you're sad is to fake a smile. It's literally the fastest way, because our bodies are so in tune, like our minds and the way we think, everything we do is so in tune with our body language that people don't even notice how you can literally change everything about yourself just by changing the way your body moves. So if you want to listen, well, don't you notice when you want to listen to something, you always go like this. You always put an ear and get a little closer, as if those 2 inches are really going to make you hear something better from a logistic standpoint. Like moving your ear 2 inches closer, does that really help the sound waves that much? No, but it's because your body is in a listening position that your body prepares to open up and actually hear it more, not because of the actual 1 + 1 = 2, as in if I'm 2 centimeters closer, I'm going to hear better, right? It's more of a body reaction thing. So we want to simulate eye contact, right? This is a really good one. Not saying you have to stare at the person's eyes the whole time. This is way more powerful in person. But one thing I found is really effective is using this in your presentation, right? For example, if I was pitching to you guys and I was like, okay, guys, so I'm going to teach you sales. I'm going to teach you how to, close more deals. I'm going to teach you how to build more authority. That's one thing. But if I were to make it more intimate and build more trust in what I'm saying, I would simulate eye contact. And the reason why I say simulate is because I can't really give you eye contact. So the best way to simulate it is to look directly into the camera. So what's way more intimate is to be like, all right, Brandon, so I'm going to help you with your sales. I'm going to help you get more people to show up by building authority on your call. I'm going to help you close more deals, show you what to say, how to say, and when to say it. So you're closing 10 times the amount of calls when people get on. So you're saving a lot of money, right? So it's so much more believable, so much more serious, and so much more intimate when I simulate that eye contact. And I don't know if you guys could see it there, but let me know. Does it seem more
Yeah,
intimate, more
it does.
serious when I looked into the camera?
Yeah.
It does.
Exactly. The difference is immaculate, right? And I'm not even looking at you really. And that's why, again, it's simulate eye contact, because I can't see your eyeball through the lens, right? But at the end of the day, us humans are programmed to believe someone more when they're keeping their eyes focused on us. Why? Have you guys ever noticed what someone does when they need to think? Have you ever noticed what they do with their eyes and their body language when they need to think of something on the spot that they don't have prepared?
They look away.
They look away. So, for example, you can always tell when someone's lying on the spot, unless they're a trained liar or they prepared the lie and practiced the lie, which most people don't do, right? But if someone is going to lie to you on the spot, that means they need to come up with information. And when someone thinks, what do? They go, right? People always look up to the corner of their eye because, again, it's the same rule. our body simulates things that we like to do easier. So do I need to really look up into the corner of my head to think? No, but when you look up into the corner of your head, you're simulating checking your brain for information. That's how much our bodies are in tune with what we actually do in our mind. You're checking your brain for information every time you look up into the corner. That's why people actually do it. There's nothing up there. You're not seeing anything that's going to help you. It's actually our bodies checking our brains for information. So that's why if I said to you, hey, Brandon, what's your name? Something you should be able to, I wouldn't say it like that because I just said your name. But if I said, hey, man, what's your name? And you should know this like that. And I said, what's my name? Ty, right? You'd be like, is this guy lying? Like, because it's something that I should be able to give you full eye contact and just respond to. Right? Does that mean every time someone's thinking they're about to lie? Obviously not, because if you ask them a question that requires them to think, then obviously there's that. But if you're asking them something that they shouldn't have to think about, and they do these motions where they're thinking, then they're probably lying to you, right? And it's not to say if you don't give eye contact in a presentation, you are lying, but one thing we tested when we used to go door to door, again, this is way more powerful in person, but one thing we tested was if I'm presenting to you versus making eye contact and presenting to you saying, hey, I'm going to give you something that's going to help you make more money versus, hey, man, yeah, I'm going to give you something that's going to help you make more money. It's way more sketchy because you cannot keep focus. You cannot keep eye contact. You're looking away and it's almost like you're ashamed to say what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. That was a great example too.
Awesome. So we also want to give the prospect nonverbal yeses. So we can do this by nodding. We can do this by raising eyebrows. Have any of you guys had a girlfriend?
I have a wife.
Yeah.
Wife?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you guys know this. Awesome. So if your wife is telling you a story about her day and you're not saying anything, right? You're just listening. But you're listening without moving or reacting in any sort of way. What will she do? She's like, hey, you're not listening, man. Are you listening? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear me? Right? Because they're expecting you to react based on how they believe you should react. For example, Brandon, make up a 2-minute story and tell it to me right now. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to listen to it. Tell me a story. Just any story. It can be real quick.
Yeah. This morning I woke up to my dead laptop. I woke up to my dead iPad. I woke up to my dead AirPods. And I'm sick. So it's been an awful day. Yeah, it's kind of weird, bro, because I'm just looking at you and I don't know if you're listening to me.
Okay. Versus tell me that same story.
Hi, bro. When I woke up this morning, I was just so upset because I had so much to do. And, like my laptop was dead. I had left my charger at the office. My iPad was dead. And, driving on the way to the coffee shop, I had a Zoom call and my AirPods were dead too. So, yeah, dude, that's like night and day difference because I'm like
difference.
talking, looking for your response to see if you're engaged.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to feel heard at the end of the day. If you don't feel heard, you're going to be like, this guy doesn't give a crap, or he's just zoned out. And you can even go opposite where, like, let's say you were telling a story and I was just like, right. That's even worse. Right. Because you could go opposite that. And it's the same thing again, talking to your wife, right? If she says something like she did this and you don't raise them eyebrows, she's going to be like, oh, so he doesn't care, or he's not even listening, or what, you don't think what she did was a big thing? You don't think it mattered? Like, and you're in hot water. You could have been listening the whole time, realistically. But if them eyebrows don't raise and you don't go with that, she didn't. She did. Damn. If you don't give one of those,
bro, that is so crazy, bro, because that literally happens. Like if I'm just nodding and not raising my eyebrows or anything, she'll be like, what did I just say? And then I'll repeat it to her. She'll be like, oh, well, so you just don't care. That's so crazy.
Exactly. It's got to be in context. They're looking at your body to see if you're sharing the same, even if it's not really a big thing to you, you will get a much better response with someone if you act like, because if you act based on their tone, if your body language is in line with their tone, they will feel so heard. Like if they're like, yeah, she was just being annoying, and you're like, right, she'll be like, okay, we're in sync. But if she's like, she's being so annoying, and you're like,
dang,
then she's
bro,
gonna be like,
like
wow.
what you're saying is there's a difference between being heard and feeling heard.
Absolutely. Because there's so many times where you could be like, oh, did you hear what I just said? And they recite, like he said, you recite it back perfectly. And they're like, oh, so you did hear, but you just didn't care the same way I cared. And that could hurt them as well, depending on who it is. I mean, obviously, if it's a prospect, they're not going to cry about it, but they're still looking for something. Obviously, it's on a much bigger level when we're talking about your wife, but they're still looking for something. They're still looking for that response, that physical reaction to the words that are coming out of their mouth, because in their mind, you should be reacting a certain way, right? You should be, right? Yeah. So you have to give them nonverbal yeses, right? And there's negative body language as well, and we'll talk about that. Actually, no, it's the next one. I forgot. So we want to avoid inconsistent or negative body language, even when you disagree. So to put this in the context of sales, let's say, Brandon teaches organic marketing. Let's say someone gets on the call and they're like, I've been trying organic marketing for months, and I really think that that method in particular just sucks. It's not a good method, and I don't think anyone should do it. And Brandon's sitting there like, he's rolling his eyes, he's crossing his arms, he's like, yeah, whatever, buddy. Right? Even if you don't believe what they're saying, you don't want to give someone negative body language, because it invites defensiveness. It creates defensiveness, right? And it stops people in their tracks. And I tell this story, it actually happened only a few weeks ago, where I got on a call with a guy, and throughout my entire presentation, he was giving me completely negative body language. But then he said yes at the end of the close. And he's like, all right, man, yeah, let's do it. And it's completely weird. And just to show you exactly what he did to me, Brandon, I want you to give me a short version of your presentation, and I'll show you exactly what the prospect did. And tell me how this makes you feel when you're presenting your product. Go ahead.
Yeah, bro. So where are you at right now? Like, how much are you making in your business?
10K a month.
10K a month. That's awesome, man. Where are you trying to get to?
50K a month.
Okay, 50K. Why are you trying to go from 10 to 50? Like, what is the reason of making 50?
I want to make 50 because, well, just make up the numbers. Just do your presentation. Like, this is how I'm going to help you with XYZ. Just do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Your presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Well, I mean, I know we can help you get there. Really, what's kind of in your way is just your systems. You told me a few times you don't know your numbers. You don't have a solid offer. You don't know who you're marketing to. You don't really even know how you're helping them. You're just making 10K on the fly. So we can help you build all that out. And yeah, we'd love for you to be what? What are you doing?
I'm just showing you the body language. Why'd you stop?
Because you were shaking your head. I thought I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
See, it just stopped you in your tracks, right? It just stopped you in your tracks, right? That's what he did. But I kept pushing. I keep going. I'll show you exactly what he did. Keep going. Go through the presentation. Keep going.
Yeah, bro. So dude, I can't even focus. Yeah, so we can help you get there. Would love to have you a part of the program. Dude, are you kidding me? He really did that to you?
Yeah, but keep going. Get to the end, and I'll show you exactly what he did. Get to the end of the presentation. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, you're a great fit. So how would you like to work with us?
Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. When can we get started? I like you.
Yeah, bro. I can pop you over the invoice right now. Typically, people who make a decision on the call tend to be the best clients. So yeah, I can put the link in the chat right now. And once that's paid, you'll get redirected to an onboarding form and get access to everything inside.
Okay, yeah, send it over. Let's do it.
All right.
Bro, see how awkward you are? You're like, what? You're like, what, bro? Are you sure? But no, if I wish I recorded that call, but that's exactly what he did. And it was so confusing and so awkward. And so like I was like, I almost tripped up in my pitch. I'm like, I'm glad I just kept pushing through the presentation. Cause there's points where I'm like, should I just stop presenting? Cause he was just straight up shaking his head. And he was doing it throughout almost the whole call. And I was like, the whole call, I'm thinking, this isn't a sale. This isn't a sale.
I've actually, somebody's done that to me, and I've stopped and asked them if they're okay.
Yeah, because some people just aren't aware of their body language. So it's like being aware of it is going to be huge, because if you're giving someone negative body language like that, it's like the guy was doing it even though he didn't mean to. Like he didn't even want to. Because his responses were like, I really like you, man. This sounds awesome. Let's get it done. Let's go. He paid on the call. Like I sent the link in the chat and he paid right there while shaking his head no. Like his inner self was like, it was the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing. It's like, but now do you see the power of just simple head movements? Right? Nobody will be like, oh yeah, head movements, whatever. I guess those are cool little things. But bro, it made him just like trip up. He didn't even know if he should keep pitching. He was like, wait, what? Like he was tripping up, right? And every single person I do this with, they stop midway their pitch. They're like, all right, what? Right? Because it'll trip you up. It's weird. It's like you're telling me no, because people don't realize how much our body communicates until you do these kind of exercises. Right? You never think, oh, just shaking your head a little bit is going to make someone, just completely stop their pitch and be like, no, it's I don't want it. But at the end of the day, if you can get hold of these little cues, imagine if I made him feel, I'm pretty sure if I was a real prospect, Brandon would have been feeling like crap, right? But imagine how good I can make someone feel if I'm reinforcing with that nodding, with the nonverbal yeses, with the like even adding in oh, okay. I throw that in my pitch everywhere. Even if you don't have no idea what they just said, you zoned out for a second, just throwing up right? And they're gonna be like, yeah, man. Like they're just gonna hear you, right? So that's receiving. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about decoding and remembering, right? So we want to mentally paraphrase key points to maintain our own attention level. So what I mean by mentally paraphrase is you're not just going to remember things word for word. Teachers, I bet you all your life have said, put it in your own words, put it in your own words. Why? Because that's how you're going to remember things. How easy is it to remember, let's say, Shakespeare or the Bible, if it's not put into your own words? If you're trying to remember the Bible word for word, it's way more difficult than if you're going to remember a passage for yourself, right? If you're going to remember something that says thou art blah, 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 versus I am XYZ, you're going to remember the I am sentence 10 times more. So if a prospect set, and yes, it's obviously the person you're speaking to is not going to be Shakespeare, so it's not going to be to that level, but you still want to mentally paraphrase because you're just going to remember that much better, even if it's 5% better, guys. 5% goes a long way. We want to get that extra memory because then we can pull it out later on in the pitch when we need it. So you want to mentally paraphrase everything because it just helps you decode it and it makes it easier to remember. We want to take complete notes if needed. What I like to do is I like to take one-liner notes. So for example, if someone says, oh, I'm struggling with XYZ, I put struggling with XYZ. I just type it out quickly in my notepad. Some people like to take paragraphs, but the reason why I like to take one-liner notes is so that I can say, hey, Brandon, weren't you struggling with XYZ? And I can just pull it out quickly, right? I can just check it and I can just pull out that one-liner because it's there in the one-liner form ready for me. What I actually do is I have the Zoom right here in front of me. Then I have the notes right here in front of me. So you can't really even tell if I'm reading my notes or not, if I'm checking them. Most of the time people can't tell if I'm even writing them, but also showing that you're writing some notes at some points shows that you care as well. So it's part of it. Maybe, I'm not saying you have to write notes if you never do, but if you do, you don't have to like be a secret agent with it, right? But at the same time, don't take it overboard because I've trained some people that they'll be like this. Okay, so for example, I'm going to simulate a mock call with you, Brandon, right now. I'm going to be like, Brandon, so where are you at right now in your business?
150,000 a month.
Okay. So where do you want to get to?
500,000 a month.
500. Okay. And like, I've literally trained people that do their sales calls like that. And I was like, dude, stop it. They're going to feel like they're in a questionnaire. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that. It's like,
I was like,
it's
bro, how much are you
painfully
writing,
slow.
dude?
That's what I'm saying. It's painfully slow. It's boring. Don't do it. Right.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic of pitch flow. But yeah, take complete notes, but don't go overboard, and don't feel the need to have to be a secret agent with it. For example, I was like, hey, Brandon, where do you want to be? 150,000. Okay. 150. And where do you want to get with that? Oh, 500. Okay, cool. And I'm moving along. Right. So you don't need to be a secret agent with it. That's why I like to type, because I can get the notes out quicker than having to write it. So we want to listen with both ears. This is a different one that you probably haven't heard. Listening with both ears is actually huge. I mean, it's not huge to the point where you're going to fail your sales calls if you don't, but at the end of the day, it's huge for if you want that little extra nudge. Now, the reason why I say this is for actual biological facts. Now, our right ear responds more to speech, logic, to speech and logic, right? While our left ear is more in tune to music and emotion and intuition. So a lot of people, they have like the one ear headsets or just the left ear headset. You're just not going to pick up on as much emotional cues or as much logical cues. The reason why I use both ears is because I want to pick up on everything. I want to give myself the best chance. Even if this helps my sales by 2%, I want to give myself the best chance possible. So just listening with both ears will really, really help you in terms of picking up when someone's being logical and picking up when someone's being emotional, because most of the sale is emotion, right? Because if everyone bought off logic, everyone would have a perfect close rate. Simple as that. Most people just pitch a logical offer, especially if it's in the make money online niche. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. So let's talk about evaluating and responding now. So there's a few ways to do this. So firstly, there's content, right? And we want to pretty much go through all of the ways, and our brains, and when I say this, don't think, oh, I have to spend 10 minutes thinking about something before responding. Our brains do this in a millisecond. Our brains are super fast computers. So don't get too worried about that. So we're content listening, right? So what's content listening? We want to, it's when we paraphrase back to the prospect to ensure that we're understanding what they specifically said, right? Showing that you're listening to the actual content. But then there's also critical listening. So critical listening is evaluating the meaning on several levels, not just the surface based. Because if you're just content listening, it's a very surface based information. I'm going to explain that in a second. So you want to listen on several levels. What is the logic of what they're saying? What's the strength of the evidence? And what's the validity of the solution? These are all things that are going to affect your response. So to give an example, I'm going to use organic marketing because that's what you guys do here. If you're on a phone with someone and they say, hey, I tried organic marketing, it sucks and it doesn't work. Let's talk about content. What are they actually saying? Well, they're saying that organic marketing sucks because they've tried it. That's what they're saying. But now if we look at it on a critical level, what are they really saying? Well, let's evaluate it. Well, hey man, how long have you been doing organic marketing? I sent 5 messages yesterday and it didn't work. So that's why I'm telling you it sucks and doesn't work. So when we're looking, well, now we got a little bit more information. What's the logic of what they're actually saying? What's the strength of the evidence that they're giving you? It's BS because they haven't actually done anything, versus someone that's like, well, I send 600 messages every single day for the last year. Now it's like, okay, what they're saying is a little bit more logical. It makes more sense that they're saying this. The strength of their evidence is pretty strong. So the validity of my solution is going to change, right? The way I'm saying it, my response is completely going to change just based on that, even though they said the exact same thing. Right? That's why we have to evaluate it on a critical level, not just a content level. Because now if they say, the guy that only tried yesterday and sent 5 messages, I'm going to be like, well, dude, you just got to do it more. You don't have enough skin in the game. You just got to get at it. Versus the other guy, I'm going to talk more. Hey, you just don't have the right systems. You just don't have the right processes. You don't have the right messages. It's a completely different response, but they both said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that's why I always say, don't jump on negatives, because you have no idea. If he says, oh, I tried it and it doesn't work, it's stupid. And you're like, yes, it does work. Trust me, dude, you just don't have the right systems. But the guy, he sent 5 messages. Maybe now you do give him the right systems and he tries 5 more messages and it still doesn't work. And he comes back and says, oh, Brandon's a liar. So that's why we have to dig deeper. We always have to dig deep and find out what it actually is before we can respond effectively to the overarching problem, to the overarching thing. Right. So there's critical, but then there's also the empathetic side of it, right? We want to appreciate the prospect's feelings and needs and wants to see their point of view. And we don't want to jump in with advice unless asked. We want to turn off biases to truly hear the message and empathize in your response. And this is one thing called bullet theory, which we'll get into in the objection overturns class. But if you are going to respond, if they do ask, I notice it says only respond with advice if asked. If you are going to ask, we want to use the FFF method, right? Has anyone ever heard of this? Probably not. Highly doubt it. So what this is, it's a 3-step way to respond to pretty much any negative and make the person feel amazing. Now, I'm going to explain that. If the person says, I tried organic marketing and I sent 6 million messages and it never worked. Let's say you have been crushing it with the same method and you're like, actually, let's role play. Brandon, tell me you've tried it and it doesn't work. And I'll give you 2 scenarios.
Ty, I mean, I've tried organic marketing for like 3 months now, and I'm just not getting any traction.
Well, dude, it does work, man. Like, it's worked for so many of our guys and we've been crushing it and I crush it. So it definitely does work. How do you feel right now?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you feel when I said it like that with that response? How do you feel?
Discouraged. Because it works for you, but it doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah.
Versus, let's use the FFF method. And I'm going to say the exact same thing. I'm just going to add a few things before it, and it's going to completely change how you feel. So say the same thing to me.
Yeah, man. I've tried organic marketing and I just haven't had any luck with it at all.
Yeah, no problem, man. I completely understand how you feel. I've been talking to a lot of guys. A lot of them hop on the call with me and they say the same thing. They've tried it for months. It hasn't really worked. But what we found when we really dug into it was when we gave them the right systems and the right messages to say, the right timings and everything that goes with that, they started crushing it. We're booking calls every week, every month. And now it works for me. I'm crushing it. How do you feel now?
I feel equipped. Like, I feel like you're going to give me the tools, if that makes sense. Like, I feel open and you related with me, common ground. I feel like I can trust you.
Yeah. And the key to this is 3 things: feel, felt, found. Okay. So feel, let's talk about that. I completely understand how you feel. You're telling them, dude, I understand how you feel. I get it. You don't suck. But now that we said that, we have to prove it, right? And we prove it with felt, right? And the reason why this is so powerful is because nobody likes to be alone when they suck, right? How many of you have ever failed a test?
A lot.
How many of you felt like crap when you failed the test?
Yeah.
How many of you felt way better when you found out the whole class failed the test?
Oh yeah,
big time.
Right? If you fail a test, you feel like crap until you found out, the teacher says, you know what, only one person passed this test. You're like, I feel great now. I feel way better. Why? Because nobody wants to go through crappy things alone. Nobody wants to feel like the one idiot in the class, right? So so instead of telling them, man, it works for everyone, we've been crushing it. What do you mean? This is a great method, right? Versus, hey man, I understand how you feel. a lot of people have felt that way. So now you're really proving to them that you do understand how they feel. Because if you skip that felt message and you just say, I understand how you feel, but this is what worked, you're lying to them and not really giving them a reason why they should believe that you understand how they feel. Right. Another thing is you're connecting with them on a level that, hey, I've dealt with a lot of people that have struggled with that exact same thing you're going through, and I've gotten them to the point where they were no longer struggling with it. So feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. A lot of people that I work with felt that way before. And what they found was when they did this, they were able to solve that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's getting it on an emotional level, right? Understand how you feel. Lots of people felt that way. But what they found was when they did XYZ, they were able to get past that. They were able to solve that. They were able to see the results they wanted. Now they have so much more faith and belief. Like we said in the last call, it's about belief. They have more belief in your solution to actually get them to solve the problem because you've talked about them struggling in that specific thing. And if you take anything out of this, it's not as effective. Right? So when we want to be empathetic, we want to use a feel, felt, found. It's super, super powerful to just connect with someone that's like has a really low belief in what you're doing if they've tried it before. If they're like, yeah, man, I've been burned by so many other coaches. I tried this and that, or man, I've tried this on my own and I tried to figure it out. I used, methods from YouTube and it just didn't work. There's lots of people that will have already tried your service similarly, because let's be real, not everyone here has an offer or a service that's never been done, especially in the agency space. If you're doing like Facebook ads or something, you'll hear a lot of people be like, yeah, I tried to run Facebook ads myself and it just didn't work. Right. Most people will get on the call, knowing that, hey, it didn't work because I'm not an expert, but you still want to connect with them. Like, hey man, yeah, I jumped on it with a lot of people. They just try to hit that boost to post thing and they didn't make any sales. So they were wondering why, what was going on. I've had like 100 calls where people were like, yeah, I tried Facebook ads. Well, what did you do? I hit boost post and nothing happened. Right. And it's like, okay, well, there's a little more than that, but we'll figure it out. Does this make sense though? Evaluating and responding?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Definitely.
So let's talk about making sure they hear you. So you want to speak their language, first of all. Everyone says things a certain way because, again, based on their past beliefs, based on the way they were raised, based on their religion, based on their values, they understand words a certain way. So we want to speak their language. If someone says, man, I just want to build an awesome business, and then you say, no problem, man, I'm going to help you build a great business, we're saying the same thing, maybe, but maybe not to them. Because what if they see awesome on this level and they see great on this level in their mind, right? So they're like, yeah, I want to build an awesome business. And you're like, I'm going to help you build a great business. And they're like, well, I kind of wanted an awesome business, not a great one, right? And it's not like the person's going to consciously be like, no, this guy said great, therefore I'm not buying it. It's more of a subconscious thing where, because people act on the way they feel, and like 99% of the people in this world don't even know why they feel what they feel, right? So if we can connect with making them feel comfortable, making them feel heard, making them feel understood, they don't even know that what you're saying is to make them feel heard or understood. They just know they feel heard and understood. So they're like, this is good, right? Most people just move on emotion. They don't understand their emotions or how to control them or anything like that. So if you understand it, it gives you that much more of an edge. And this is not a manipulation thing. This is just making sure that the person that you're speaking to actually, is understanding what you're trying to get across. And that's why I said the most important thing is to have a really good offer, because if you master everything that I'm talking about, minus the having a good offer part, you're a piece of shit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to have a really good offer that actually does help people. And then you want to, be really good at convincing people that it does help them at the end of the day. And if you have both of that, that's what makes a really good, fast growing business. So you want to speak their language. If they say they want something awesome, give them something awesome. If they say they want something great, give them something great. If they say they want to hit 10K a month, tell them you're going to help them hit 10K a month versus 10,000 or $10 or something. Right. You want to use their name when appropriate. I'm not saying use their name in every sentence, but everyone gets more alert and more focused to what you're saying when you say their name.
Yeah.
It's just natural. Maybe it's something our mothers trained us when we were young, yelling our name and we're just like, oh, I'm in trouble. But our body just like tenses up and gets alert when they hear your name. Have you ever been trying to talk to someone and you're saying things right in their ear, right beside them, loud enough that they could definitely hear, and they're just zoned out? And then when you say their name, they're like, they almost like come to life. Like, huh? What? You were talking to me? What? Right? That's because we're trained from birth to respond to our name. It's just something that innately alerts us, right? Um, so when you're, some appropriate times to use their name is right before the presentation, right? So it's like, all right, Brandon, so here's how I'm going to help you, or listen, Brandon, or hey, Brandon, or like you want to throw it in at key times when you're about to say something really important. Which makes sure, again, this is what it's about, it makes sure that they hear you. And it's just something that's alert. But if you say it on every single line, it's probably going to get really annoying. So just make sure you throw it in at key moments that are actually important, because if you're always saying their name and then it turns out to not be that important, it's going to dilute it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So have a singular focus for each reply. And most of you probably are already good at this. I haven't seen too many people struggling with this, but when someone does struggle with this, it is detrimental. So I thought I'd throw it in. So what do I mean by have a singular focus for each reply? So if someone says, I want to grow my business to 10K. Okay, you want to grow your business to 10K? Nice. Why do you want to grow your business to 10K? What have you been trying to do so far? Like what methods? So, how many people have you closed so far? How much have I just given you to answer? I've given you like 3 things to answer back. Now, what you're either going to have is they're going to ramble. They're not going to go deep enough on either thing, or they're just going to pick one and skip the rest, right? They're going to pick one, skip the rest, but they're still going to log. And I actually heard this when I was reviewing someone's sales call. The client picked one thing, skipped the rest of the things. So the guy asked the question again on the things only that they skipped. And they said, dude, you asked that already. Because they don't even realize that they skipped that thing. Because when you bring all of those questions together, it sounds like one question. Right? You're just giving them too much to answer. So just have a singular focus for each reply. You, again, for those of you that were here at the beginning, you want to ask deep questions, not wide. The deeper you can go on a few things, 3 or 4 things, the more valuable information you're going to get, because value is deep. Gold is deep in the ground, right? That's how you're going to get the actual value. You're not going to see it surface level. If you don't get into deep conversation with people, they're not going to open up to you. Right? You can be talking with a girlfriend or boyfriend. You can be talking with someone for hours about, hey, how's it going? What you up to? Nothing much. You can talk for hours and get nowhere, or you can go deep into their core values or beliefs and really learn about the person in a 20-minute conversation. Right? It's a night and day difference. So we also want to speak with our body, right? Our body can be used to emphasize things. Again, like we talked about at the beginning, our body language is huge. Our body can be used to emphasize things. Our body can be used to diminish things. It's just not visually, it's just visually boring for them to talk to someone the whole time who's just like, yeah, so like they're just only moving their lips. They're only talking like this. They have no emotion. They have nothing. Hey, how's it going? Okay, how many sales calls do you take? Okay, cool. Do you close a lot of them? Okay. You need help with your sales? Okay. Do you need help with getting more calls booked? It's just like, it's just boring, right?
Dude, and Ty, I just wanted to say one thing
that
helped me so much on this topic, because I don't think people realize how important it is. And it's something that if I stay in neutral, I kind of revert to, because like whenever we say body language, like we give 100%, right? So body language, move your hands, things like that. But dude, you have to give like 200%. You can't really overdo it. Like, because if you're just trying to do it, it actually isn't making that big of an impact. And it's weird how it works, if that makes sense. I don't know if you can kind of speak to that a little bit, but people, whenever they'll try to use body language, they think that one hand or this, but it's like, no, you need to overdo it to the point to where it's normal to the person watching. Now, don't give 500% because you're going to look like an idiot, but like give a little more than you think is necessary, and it's going to actually even out perfectly. So,
and that's one thing we would teach at the sales office is we would teach over communicate to communicate.
Yes,
right?
dude, that's fire.
If you want someone to actually hear you, you have to over communicate what you're saying, give 3 4 analogies, break it down for them. That's why you notice when I teach, I take like 10 minutes on a single point, because I want to break it down in 3 4 different ways to make sure that you understand. And if I was doing 1 to 1, I would understand more about the person and I would break it down to them even more. For example, I would train someone who was a boxer, and he didn't understand that when a customer said no or gave him an objection, that he would have to overturn it and get past it. And no matter how much we said, get past it, overturn it, he just wouldn't understand until we broke it down in an analogy and said, hey, man, what do you do when you get punched in the face in the ring? Right? Do you get back up? Do you swing? Do you throw a couple punches back? He's like, yeah, I try to dodge some, I throw a couple punches back, or I just take it and I keep going. It's like, okay, it's just like when you're selling, man. If someone throws you a punch, throw one back, right?
Yeah.
Not actually punch them through the screen, but we're taking hits and we're giving hits and we're going back and forth. So yeah, Brandon's absolutely right. We want to over communicate with our body to communicate with our body, right? And it doesn't have to be crazy with the hands. It's even like with your head movements when you're talking, when you're saying things, it just emphasizes things. And one thing I always said with someone is your body and communication is huge for them to get the point. For example, if I said to you guys, let's say I was wearing a watch, if I said to you guys, hey guys, I don't really have a lot of time left. I'm really on a tight schedule. I really got to go. I only got like 2 minutes left. Versus, hey guys, I really got to go. I don't have a lot of time left. I'm on a tight schedule here, so I'm gonna have to finish this up in a few minutes here. Completely different, right? You're hearing it, you're seeing it. I'm saying the same things, but you're understanding it completely different. The other one, it's like, yeah, you don't seem like you got to go, but now it's like, okay, this guy's got to go, so let me, it's way more believable. So you want to actually use your body language. It's so powerful. And we're going to get into the actual numbers of what communication is, and it might shock some of you guys in a second here. So again, use analogies that pertain to them or their service. If you do, and this is why narrowing down at the beginning is very, very good. Because if you only help fitness coaches, you can give fitness analogies all day, right? Because you're helping fitness coaches with marketing. They don't necessarily understand marketing by trade, but you can use marketing. You can, create marketing analogies based on fitness principles, right? And I don't know any off the top of my head, but you guys understand exactly what I'm saying here. So if you help a specific type of group, you can use analogies that pertain to that group. If you're helping lawyers, if you're helping doctors, you use, whatever would make them understand what you're saying the best. Does that make sense to everybody?
Hey, Brandon, you've done this before, because I used to play basketball and you use an analogy for basketball in one of your videos. It's like repetition, and I instantly clicked with it.
100%. And it's huge, right? Especially like, hey man, you play any sports? Yeah, I play soccer. Yeah, I play basketball. Yeah, I play football. Perfect. When you're doing XYZ on the field, how does it, and it's just like, yeah, so your marketing machine. So you play basketball. Can you do it all alone, or do you need a team? Does each person on the team play a specific role? Perfect. It's just like your marketing. Let's say the person came to you and they said, yeah, Brandon, I get why I got to message a lot of people, but I don't get why I got to post organically on the feed. I don't get why I got to make value posts. I don't get why I do this other stuff. Why don't I just message people? And they're like, they play soccer. It's like, okay, you play soccer. Does the striker do it all alone, or does he have other people that seem less important because they don't score the goal like messaging does? Do you still need them to get the goal? Absolutely. So that's why you need to have other cogs in the machine. That's why you need to post organically. That's why you need to do all these little other things that don't seem to give direct results, right? The goalie doesn't give you a direct result of scoring, but he does defend the goal. The defender, same thing. The midfielder might not be the guy scoring, but he is the one that gets you the ball, right? So giving those analogies, a person playing soccer, they're going to be like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. And not only they're going to understand better, but they're going to take it way more serious. Right, because they understand it on a completely other level, because it's so in tune with their past experiences. And that's why I said at the very beginning, people receive things and hear things based on their values, their past experiences, their religions, or everything that they've experienced in their life will decide whether you saying hi with a smile means you're a friendly person, you're trying to hit on them. You're like, it's completely different meanings, right? If someone's being nice to you, it's like, okay, does this guy want to hit on me, or is this guy just a nice guy, or Is this guy, do people smile and say hi when they're mad? Like, who knows? Maybe their father always smiled and said hi when he was about to go on a rage. Like, you never know what that person went through in terms of their past experiences, but those past experiences will make up everything that they hear and receive, and why they receive it and how they receive it and what it means to them when they decode it in their mind. Right. And people don't realize how big this is. Right. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Right. So we also want to use the right tone. Tone is everything. And now we're going to get into the final section, which is tonality. And we're going to talk about how important tonality is, right? Why should we care about tonality? Why should we care about it? Simply because tonality makes up 38% of speech, 55% of speech is our body language, and only 7% is the actual words you say, which is crazy to think. Like, if you like, just think about that for a second. Everything I'm saying right now, everything that's coming out of my mouth, the only reason you understand it the way I want you to understand it is 7% of that is what the actual words that I'm saying coming out of my mouth. You can have the dictionary all day in front of you, but it's not going to help you understand a sentence any more than 7% of it. Now, what am I saying is, I'm saying if you have zero body language and zero tonality, you have 7% chance of communicating the message you want to communicate to your prospect, which gives you a 7% chance of closing, probably, depending on how they receive it. Now, most people, I'm not saying everyone, if they're not consciously thinking about their tonality, that they're at 0 in the tonality sector. Some people are a 5, some people are a 20. Whatever percentage you are, you want to give yourself 100% chance to close that sale based on what you're trying to communicate, not a 70%, not a 50%, not a 30%, right? And we can give all the tips and tricks on tonality and body language in the world, but this is why I covered mindset first, because the number one way to get your tonality to be perfect is to believe in your own product. Because if you believe in your own product, you believe in your own service, the tonality is just going to be natural. It's just going to be there. Again, we can talk about the Bitcoin example. What would your tone be telling your past self to invest in Bitcoin? What would your tone? You'd be like, dude, like, I'm only whispering because I'm simulating yelling. You know what I mean? Be like, dude, like, buy this. Come on. My body, I'd be flailing. I'd probably take the phone from him, kick him in the butt, kick him in the nuts and buy it myself, and then give him his phone back and say, see you in 10 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, your body language, your tone would be crazy. And the one example I love to give people that I always use in the sales office is one sentence: I didn't steal your Starbucks. Who here has ever drank Starbucks? Yeah, lots of people drink. Oh, there you go. So just to give it, what do I mean by this? So depending on what you emphasize in your tone can completely change the meaning of a sentence. So let's talk about it. So if I say I didn't steal your Starbucks, what do you guys read that as? You read that as, okay, this guy's telling me he didn't steal my Starbucks. But if I say to you, you come into a room and you're like, who stole my Starbucks? And I'm like, I didn't steal your Starbucks. You're probably thinking, okay, he didn't do it, but he probably knows who did. Right? Now let's emphasize this. I didn't steal your Starbucks. It's like, okay, what did you do to my Starbucks? Like, you did something to it. You didn't steal it, but like, did you fart in it or something? Like, what'd you do to it? Right? Versus I didn't steal your Starbucks. It's like, whose Starbucks did you steal? You stole someone else's Starbucks, at some point, right? Well, I didn't steal your Starbucks per se, It's like, okay, you stole something of mine. Maybe it wasn't my Starbucks, but you stole something. What did you steal, right? A simple sentence, the exact same words, read with a different tonality, and body language would pertain to this as well, can have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the overall 5th meaning. It can have 5 different meanings with the exact same words. So if you're not in control of your tone, you could be saying things 5, 6, 7, and the longer the sentence, the more meaning it could have. This is a very short sentence, but if the sentence is like, triple this, it could have probably triple the amount of meaning to it. So if you're not in control, who knows what the prospect is actually taking in when you're saying what you say, if you're not actively controlling your tonality or having it to the point where it's naturally positive or naturally going the way it should go or the way you want it to go. Do you guys see how powerful tonality is? Tonality and body language.
Dude, yeah, and that's just crazy how, like, the same words, the same sentence can mean a ton of different things just based off your tone.
A ton of different things.
Like,
Ton.
like, yeah, I don't know. It just has me thinking too about how important each aspect is, that we've went through already. So
Yeah, each word you say, like emphasizing this word, not emphasizing that word, ending with an upward inflection or a downward inflection. There's so many things that come with tone. And I don't like to go crazy with it because I don't want you guys to really be to the point where you're trying to analyze every single line when you're on the call. But this is why you need to memorize your pitch and then memorize your pitch with the right inflections at the right time. Like I go through my pitch line by line, and like if I'm practicing pitch, let's say the first line of my pitch was "I didn't steal your Starbucks." I will say this 20 times to make sure I'm saying it the right way, not just memorizing it, but saying it the right way. And then I'm like, okay. And then the next line after that has to be said this way. And I'm doing that over and over again until I have the right tonality all through the entire pitch. And that's why it's so important to get really, really good at memorizing everything in your pitch so that you can go through it with the right tone without having to think about it. Because the second you have to think about it, everything I talked about before this about receiving, decoding, that's a lot of stuff to do to memorize. I mean, our brains do it like that. But again, if you're thinking about your tone and how you're going to say the next line, you're not, that's brain power that's not being used to listen. Right. And if it's not being used to listen, then you're screwed at the end of the day because they're not feeling heard. And if they don't feel heard, they don't care to hear about your solution and how much it costs and paying you for it. Right. So let's talk about what kind of tone should we have overall, right? The overall tone, because there's an overall tone. There's different tones for different sections, which we're going to get into lastly, but there's also an overall tone. So the overall tone is not too friendly, but also not an asshole. A lot of people will fall into this thing where it's like they have to be super nice and bubbly and friendly on a sales call when you couldn't be further from the truth. Because at the end of the day, one thing I learned going door to door where you actually see people's real emotions, right? It's one thing when you book a call, everyone's ready to fake it. When you go in door to door, you see how people are really like. Right? You see, because, I've had people open the door in nothing but their underwear and they're just like, what? So you see what people are really like. And I'll tell you one thing, really friendly people, they like really friendly people, and they think that people that are, too stuck up and too authoritative and too like, let's get to the point, they think those people are pricks, right? But on the reverse side, people that are straight to the point and very like, what do you want? Okay, this is what you're offering. Okay, I'll buy it. Or they're like, no, let's get to the point. Let's wrap this up. Those kind of people think that really friendly people are just annoying as shit. Right? They really hate it when you're trying to be all bubbly and friendly. So being that bubbly, friendly person is not the end all be all, right? Because even if someone's tolerated on a sales call, they're probably thinking in the back of their mind, like, oh, this guy's annoying. Especially if you're trying to sell a program where they have to hear you talk every week and they can't stand the way you talk. It sucks. So we want to be a good middle. We want to be at a good middle, right? We want to speak like a doctor or a surgeon. It's kind of like an authoritative friendly, right? Because nobody really hates the way their doctor talks, right? It's kind of like an authoritative friendly. What I mean by that is like, yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm your buddy. I have a little bit of a light tone, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not like, yeah, man, whatever you want. Sure, let's do it. I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? At the end of the day, this solution is for you. You have to take it. Like, what does the doctor tell you when he's giving you medicine? He doesn't say, yeah, if you want to take it, here's your medicine. If you want to have it, sure. And he's not like, take this or you're going to die. Take it now. No, take it. Like, he's not being a dick about it. He's like, yeah, man, it was nice meeting with you today. We figured out some stuff about you. And what we found out was that you need this medicine. If you don't take it, it could kill you. So you probably do want to take it. He's giving you that authoritative, friendly attitude. It's a good middle. It's good tone. It's not too much of a dick. It's not too friendly and loose. And a big thing about being friendly, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, is you don't want to be too much of their friend. And I'll talk about that in a second. So overall, the doctor surgeon tone is certain, right? The friendly tone can sometimes come off as not that certain. The prick tone, you know, you're certain, but a lot of like you're only going to have a certain amount of people that like it, right? So you
Right.
don't want to do it the whole time. You want to give yourself the best chance here. Body language helps tone, again, like I was talking about before, confidence in motion. If you want to be more confident, you know, puff up your chest, put your shoulders back, sit more confidently, and you'll automatically act more confident. You know, it's just how it is. You know, you see a guy sitting like this and they're like, hey, you know, versus, you know, I'm sitting like this and I'm slouching and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And I'm trying to be authoritative from this kind of pose. It's like, it's going to be weird, right? Your body's not going to want to do it. The person's not going to see you as authoritative or confident. It's just not going to, it's not going to work. So body language helps with your tone a lot. And a lot of people heard about mirroring your prospect. Have you guys heard that when it comes to sales?
Yeah.
Heard about it, but
yeah. So one thing I'll say about this, I've tried both mirroring and not mirroring. Mirroring helps in lower ticket sales, but not higher ticket sales. That's one thing I'll say. If you're selling something high ticket, you don't really want to mirror. And the facts actually show that the top sales reps have prospects adjust to them. Now, the reason I say this is because, yes, most people do like people who are alike them. That's what mirroring is. You're mirroring their tone, well, not really their tone, but their tempo and things like that. You're mirroring them so that you sound more familiar, and people tend to like people that are familiar and are like them, right? You meet someone who's just like you. You're like, you want to be friends? Great, let's be friends, right? People do like them, but in the sense of a sales call where you're asking someone to give you $3 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, people do like people who are like them, but people take advice and buy from people who are above them. That's the main thing, right? Yeah. If I'm saying I'm going to help you get to 10K, I want you to see me as above you. I don't want you to see me as on the same level as you, because then how can I get you to 10K? And that's why I say it works better for high ticket products. Or it starts to mirroring diminishes as the sale gets bigger, because you want to be above them. That's the thing. If you're too friendly with someone, like if you get on a sales call with someone and you feel like they're like your best friend now, that means they're also comfortable and confident with telling you no. I don't want you to feel comfortable telling me no. How comfortable are you with telling your childhood best friend no versus telling your doctor no, or your teacher no, or anyone in authority above you no? Right? It's, even if they do seem friendly, it's a lot more weird and harder for you to say no to something that they ask of you. Right? Yeah. Versus your buddy, you're like, yeah, shut up, I'll do it when I feel like it. You're like, because there's no authority there. They're just your buddy now. You don't want to be too buddy, because everyone, they're going to be confident telling you no. They're going to be confident saying, yeah, man, I'll hit you up in like 3 months. And you're like, all right, man, no problem, whenever you're ready. No, like, no, that's not how it's going to go, because there's no authority there. There's no authority. So you want to be a little bit above them, or a lot above them, but not too above them to the point where you're like in this unrelating area where you're just like God to them and they don't know, you're just completely unrelated, right? So you do want to be above them, but not too above them. Does that make sense to everyone?
Definitely.
How do you feel about, because you talked about like mirroring, like when people talk, what about like physically? Because when I worked for a sales company, they always talked about mirroring physically.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot. You know, it's actually a hypnotism tactic. It's called the rule of 3. So I don't know if you guys ever heard this, but my sales trainer, when I first started like years ago, right, he took hypnotism classes, and he learned this thing called the rule of 3, and he taught it to me. If you're talking with someone and you're face to face with them, if you mirror their body language 3 times, you can actually start to kind of control their body language. For example, if I'm at the door and someone's like this, and then I do this, and then someone's like this, and then I do that, and then someone goes like this, and then I do that, and then I move to like this, they'll start to move the way I'm moving. It's called the rule of 3. It's a bit of a hypnotism trick. Now, when it comes to that, I mean,
I'm gonna try that. Cool. Like, even if it doesn't work, I'm definitely gonna try that next call I have.
Yeah, I don't know how it works over That's Zoom, amazing. But in person, it's crazy. Like, if you can keep the conversation going and not have them realize what you're doing, then they will literally follow your body language. It's so, like, the first time I did it, I was like screaming in the back of my head. I was like, holy shit, this guy actually just copied me. What the heck? It's good, I'd say, yes, but I don't really teach it anymore when it comes to teaching people high ticket stuff, because one, we're over Zoom, so it doesn't, like, how much of me can you really see? First of all. And secondly, um, when it comes to it, if you're focusing on that, like, I don't want to teach people to focus on that, because then they're missing out on the more important stuff, like listening to what the prospect's actually saying. Right.
Mhm.
It's like we only have so much capacity in our brain to focus and listen and understand and decode, like, all, like, even everything I just said is a lot. Right. Doing all that is a lot in its own, but then trying to mirror body language, something that you can't really practice to do subconscious, like, you can, but at the end of the day, you're still always allocating some brain power to focus on their body language. And I don't think it makes enough of a difference to be worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make enough of a difference. And again, it's another thing where we're trying to make them feel like we're alike them when we want to be more authoritative than them. Right. For example, if I said, okay, guys, mirror everything they're doing, but they're in an unconfident position, are we really going to mirror that unconfident position? No, because we want to seem above them, right? So I can't say it as a golden rule of, like, if they're slouching and they look like they hate their life, that you should too. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that's what I have to say to that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. So let's talk about what kind of tone and language we should have for different stages of the sale. So the intro and the framing, the kind of vibe we want to have is like, it's great to meet you, would love to see how I can help. You want to be relaxed and you want to be excited, right? So what I mean by that, you know, again, it's the reason why I add relaxed but excited is because if I get on the call and I'm like, hey man, it's great to meet you, would love to see how I can help. No, this is going to be awesome. Can't wait to get started with the call. They're going to think you're on crack. But if I'm like, hey man, can't wait to get started here, it's going to be awesome. Glad to see how I can help. They're going to probably think you're high or something, right? So I want to have a good middle where I'm like relaxed but excited. Hey man, great to get you on the call. It's good to see how I can help you grow your business, get started. Let's jump into it if you're ready. You have that cool middle. And when I say vibe, I'm not saying to say these words particularly. This is not like going through a pitch script. This is just the overall vibe you should have. You should have an attitude of, it's great to see them. You should have an attitude of, I'm excited to see how I can help, not how I'm excited to show you what I got. I'm excited to sell you. I'm excited to close the deal. I'm excited to make money. Your vibe should be like, I just want to see how I can help.
Yeah.
That's the kind of tone in your voice you should have. Does that make sense when I say this is the vibe? And what I mean by this is not the script, this is just the kind of attitude you should have in your brain. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay. So take it as this is what you should be thinking, right? Like, man, it's great to see this guy. I'd love to see how I can help. Yeah.
Real quick, bro. Some people, I struggled with this too, talk really quiet. I feel like people don't really notice it, but do you have any advice for people who tend to be on the quieter side? Because if you're too quiet, like you said, you're either stoned or you're coming off as insecure.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any advice for talking louder?
Like, from the salesperson's perspective, they don't talk loud enough. Like,
Yes.
I'm selling and me as the person selling doesn't talk loud enough.
Yes.
Well, there is just telling them to talk louder. You could get a mic that boosts your signal. Like with this mic, I can talk at the same tone, but I can turn it up so that I sound louder and louder and louder. Like I can literally, like,
that's dope.
Have it sound like this, but I can talk at the same. I can even get quieter and quieter and quieter, but I can make it seem like I'm talking even louder, right? So there's that. I mean, there's little technology tricks like that. But the person just needs to come out of their shell, and that comes from practicing. Practice pitch with them and really get them to talk loud. Like if they have a mic that just picks up what it picks up, actually you could go into like Zoom settings and turn up how powerful your mic is. So yeah, I get, at the end of the day, they don't need to scream. Everyone should have the capability of talking at a good level. You should be good to go there. Like that shouldn't be a huge issue. Just do what you can to help them talk louder. If they memorize their pitch and if they're confident with their pitch, they should naturally be a little bit louder. some people do just have a softer, more relaxed demeanor, and that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. I would only say it's a bad thing when the person just straight up can't hear you. But if
Yeah.
the person can hear you and you're over, like, you're just a more relaxed guy. I'm not saying everyone needs to talk exactly like me or exactly like, you know, someone else who has good tonality. I'm not saying you need to talk that way. Everyone talks the way they talk. This is just a slight shift. You just want to have slight shifts. I'm not saying completely change the way you talk and have my voice or someone else's voice. I'm saying, you know, if you're a guy that's more laid back, you want to sound a little bit more, you know, uppity, you know, just tweaks. It's small tweaks. It's not complete transformation, right? There's nothing wrong with being relaxed. You know, there's some people like that just like a chill guy that just talks and just pitches chill, right? That's completely fine as well. I have a lot of calls that are like that, so it's not a huge problem. Again, everything I'm talking about here makes a few percentage in difference, right? It's like if that person talks quiet, it might make a difference between them closing 40% to 35% or something, which that's not a bad close rate either. So, you know, and who knows, maybe they get more people on the phone that are a little bit quieter anyways. So it's not something that you need to stress too much about. I'd say just try to use technology to your full advantage to make them sound a little louder if the person literally can't hear you.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question? I just try to answer as best as I could there, but yeah, it's just a
Totally.
technology thing, or just have them talk a little bit louder, do some lung exercises or something.
Totally. Love it.
Awesome. So, um, what about the investigation stage? What kind of tone should we have there? So the investigation stage, we want to have a vibe that's like, I am hyper interested in your goals, who you are, and your why. But again, don't overdo it. Don't seem too interested because it comes off as BS. For example, we could do a little role play here, Brandon. If I'm like, if let's talk about over interested. If I'm like, hey man, so what are your goals?
Um, Really to just kind of scale, obviously, make more money. So
Wow. No, that's awesome, man. Wow. No, that's a great goal. That's a great goal. Why do you want to hit that? Why do you want to do that?
uh, I want to help more people mainly.
No, that's
Um,
awesome, dude. Help
yeah.
more people? No, helping people is amazing. That's amazing. Like, see, if I'm like that, you're just like,
Like,
okay, this guy's BSing me to make a sale. That's how they're just gonna feel. They're gonna be like, hey, this guy just, you don't really care that much. Like, let's be real here. Like, everything about the sale is to make it feel like they're talking to a person that isn't like just there for a sale. Like, you're just talking, just like how you talk to your doctor or your buddy or someone. It's just a normal conversation. Versus if I was hyper on the low end where it's like I don't care. And again, we'll role play Brandon. If I was like, so Brandon, tell me, what are your goals?
yeah, to scale.
Cool. Why do you want to scale?
Um, you good, bro? Like that's what I would say because it seemed like you're mad at me.
Well, how much money do you want to make
Uh, 50,000 in a month.
in a month? Okay.
Yeah.
How much are you making now?
I don't know my numbers to be honest, so I don't know.
Okay. What have you tried to get to 50K?
Uh,
It's like I don't give a
higher,
shit. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like you seem like you don't give a crap. And I've seen some people sales call where they're like that, right? They're just going through the questions. So you want to have a good middle where, again, let's role play one more time, Brandon. Um, let's. So tell me, what are your goals?
yeah. I want to hit 50K a month.
Nice. No, that's a good number. Why do you want to hit 50K? Take the wife on a couple extra dates or what?
Yeah, bro, that's just great margins at that point.
Hmm.
Be able to help more people, and at
For
the same
sure.
time, uh, yeah, I think implement systems to sustain that would be a great place to get to.
You sound like you're interested in helping people. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Christian, for
Ah,
whatever that means. I do want to see people really walk out in their purpose and things like that. So
no, that's awesome, man. I'm a Christian too, and that's what I look for in business is where I
yeah,
can truly help people. No, that
yeah, bro.
completely relate with that, dude. So you think 50K is a good goal to hit in the next how long? What when do you want to hit that?
Pretty quick, bro. By January.
January? No, that's a good amount of time. We could definitely see that happening for you. So 50K by January, but you see the difference there? It's like I'm interested. I'm
Dang, I
not too
literally forgot
interested.
that was an exercise, by the way.
That's what
Like,
I'm
I'm not
saying.
kidding.
It just feels like a natural flowing conversation. I'm asking pretty much the same questions, but it's so natural flowing because of not only I'm not bulleting out the questions, I'm throwing in a little bit of input. I'm throwing in a little bit about myself. And I wasn't lying. I am a Christian. I'm throwing in things that I can relate with. I'm throwing in a lot of things that make him feel not only understood, but make him feel that I care without making him feel that I'm BSing how much I care. Right.
Yeah.
Because he knows that I'm not like, this is not like, it's not like, I'm not going to cry over it if he doesn't hit 50K. Like, it's not my lifelong goal to just see him hit 50K. Right. He knows that. So if I act like that, he's going to be a little thrown off. Like, why is, for example, if you ever see people that are just naturally really excited, happy people, what's your first thought? Why is that guy so excited? Like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this guy? Anyone that's over emotional in any direction, our first thought is to be skeptical. Like, why is this guy so excited? Like, what kind of crack is he taking? You know, you just want to know what's going on with it, right? Does that make sense for the investigation stage? You want to be hyper interested. And what I mean by hyper interested, it's not only in your tone and vibe, it's also in the kind of questions you ask. For example, when he said, my goal is to help people and do this, I could have just moved on and been like, okay, cool. When do you want to hit that? Versus I was like, well, you sound like you like helping people. Why is that? Why did you get into this line of work? So asking those kind of questions make you seem interested in, again, their goals, who they are, and their why. But if you don't ask any questions that show that you care about their why, or, and again, this digs to deep versus wide questioning. If you're not asking deep questions, you're not going to get anything real out of him, right? Now, if let's say I only had a limit of 3 questions and I didn't ask, let's say we minused out the question of how long do you want to get there? I still know a lot about him because I know what he wants to hit, why he wants to hit it, and his core values and beliefs that lead to him having that why. Versus if I skipped that other question of why do you care about helping people, and I just straight went into when do you want to hit it, and all I would know about him is what he wants to hit and when he wants to hit it, and I would have a really shallow view of who he is as a person. Right? Same amount of time spent, but I know so much more about Brandon in those 30 seconds than I would in the 30 seconds if I had asked only those questions or if I had skipped that one question. So deep questioning is super, super important. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Awesome.
Hey, Ty. So there are times where I get caught up because I get very emotional sometimes. Like sometimes, I am really excited when I'm in a conversation with somebody. Does it help, like just in case, like if I did do that, like if there's something that I really got excited about, to explain why it excites me, like what they just said, so that they don't feel skeptical?
And that's exactly what I was going to say. For like, what do you sell?
Coaching, basically. So Instagram marketing.
And why would you get so excited? What's the reason why?
No, it's not even, sometimes it's not even, it doesn't even have to do with that. They could just be talking about like, if somebody, like if they're married, I'm married too. And then they'll say something. I'm like, oh yeah, man. Like, and I just kind of get caught up into that little, like, oh, cause me and them relate with each other you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, 100%. This is about human nature, and that is human nature. The only reason I say don't get too excited, and if you notice, I said don't get too excited because there is no reason to be overly excited. But if you have a reason to be overly excited, like for example, me and Brandon are both Christians, I really want to help him out because he's Christian, for example. And I'm just like, if I got way more excited there, I'd have been like, yeah, man, I really want to help you out, man. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little overexcited here. I just love, helping out Christians and their mission to help others and to, because it's good to get excited when appropriate. So for sure, if you're talking another guy's married and he's like, man, I just want to take care of my family. And you're like, oh man, I relate with that so hard because I got into this business to be able to take care and provide for my family. For sure, man, you can get super excited there and it's legitimized. Right. But if he's just like, I'm married, and you're like, cool, you're married. Woo, nice, awesome, that's amazing. You know what? I want to help you so much, because you're not giving him any background into why you want to help him so much. You're just saying it just to say it. It's just what is real, what is natural. Is this a way someone would act outside of a sales scenario? That's what you just want to ask yourself. If I didn't have something to gain by acting this way, would I act this way?
Right.
Right.
That's good.
And that's one thing that the prospect is going to be looking at. It's like, because the first thing they're going to think is he's only acting this way because he has something to gain. So the more natural you can make it feel that he doesn't, like, obviously we're always going to have something to gain, and they're going to have something to gain as well, because our offer is a good one, right? But we don't want to be acting in a way that makes that thought pop into their head, because the second you're all excited and you're like, oh, it's because I'm married too, and I got into business for the same reasons, they're going to be like the thought in their head is going to be like, awesome, this guy relates with me on that. The thought isn't going to be like, why is this guy so excited? Why is, because you got to remember, people aren't analyzing like crazy. Like, people aren't going to be like, okay, although he's excited because he's also married, he also is probably excited because he wants to sell me. Like, people aren't analysts like that. They just go to the first thought in their head. And I just want to cover that first thought. I just don't want that first thought to be like, oh, he's excited because he wants to sell. I want that first thought to be, he's excited because legitimate reason. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. Awesome. So let's talk about the demonstrating capability, kind of like the presentation kind of stage, right? The vibe is, I'm 100% confident that I can help you when we help you, right? So the vibe is like, hey man, and also adding to that, you want to tell them this is the best thing for you, and you really need to pay attention to this. So again, I'm going to simulate eye contact and be like, okay, Brandon, so we're going to help you build out a 5K offer. Okay. We're going to help you. Like, you want to have this confidence where you're 100% sure you can help. And I've seen someone present like, yeah, so we're gonna this is what we can, and it just doesn't work if it's not consistent, if it's not confident, if it's not strong. The vibe is, I've helped so many people do this before, and I've helped so many people do this before in your exact situation. So doing this for you is a piece of cake for me. It's just like, do you want to do it?
Right.
Right? Are you willing to hop on board with this? Because I know this works. Right? That's the kind of attitude, that's the kind of vibe you need to have with it, is just undenying confidence and ability to get the thing done. Does that make sense? Perfect. So obtaining commitment, so like going for the close, dropping the price, everything like that, you want to let them know, like, hey man, the attitude is like, this is why people are doing this now, and this is if they give you kind of like objections and stuff like that. You kind of want to give them, you want to give them this will definitely help you, but it won't kill me if you don't take it. And this is where indifference plays. Have you guys ever heard of, probably not the acronym, but you guys know what indifference is when it comes to sales?
No, I don't.
Okay. So there's an acronym called Fuji that we would always teach. And it stands for a few things you want to give your customer: fear of loss, urgency, greed, and indifference. So fear of loss would be like, let's say you do like a today only discount or today only bonus or something like that. That would be kind of like fear of loss and urgency. Fear of loss, that would actually be more urgency. Fear of loss would be like, what are they going to lose if they don't take this? They're going to lose out on the fact of hitting their goal, right? So you want to make sure everything is tied to the goal, right? Them taking your service is tied to them actually being able to achieve what they want to achieve and hit their goal. So fear of loss, they lose their goal if they don't take this. Urgency is what I just said before. Greed is, hey man, this is like feel, felt, found. A lot of people, it's working for a lot of people, so they want that. They want to be with a lot of people. They want to be in the crowd, and if the crowd's winning, they especially want to be in the crowd. They want to be winning. So greed. And indifference. Indifference is, this will definitely help you. You should take it, but I don't need you to take it. I'm not struggling. I'm not going to die if you say no. You know what I mean? A lot of salespeople mess up on this one. Is they're like, come on, man, like you need this. Like, come on, please buy it. Right? You don't want to seem desperate for the sale. It's kind of just like, hey man, if you take this, it's definitely going to help you. You're going to hit your goal in 2 months like you wanted. But if you don't want that, then what can I tell you? I'm not saying to say that
Right.
for those words in particular, but that's the kind of attitude you need to have. Not like, no, please, you need to take this, please take it. And you're going to hit your goal. Trust me, just take it. You don't want to have that kind of like on your knees begging kind of attitude. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So this also applies after the sale. For example, if I drop my payment link in the chat and you're checking out and you hit buy, your attitude in that moment, your reaction in that moment says a lot about you and your company and your program. So what do I mean by that? I mean, don't get excited. If someone buys and they hit checkout, payment goes through, and you're like, yes, awesome, man. Woo! Sale, nice. Congratulations, right? If you're overly excited, what's the first thing that comes to their mind? Again, the
He
first
never
thing
gets
is
sales.
exactly the first thing is, why is this guy so excited? Why is he so excited? And people ask why, even if you were chill about it, it's like, why are you so chill? The problem isn't them asking the question. The problem is the answer. Why is this guy so excited? Oh, he's probably excited because nobody buys from this guy. Okay, now I'm skeptical. Why does nobody buy from this guy? Okay, what's the other one? Why is he so chill? Well, why is he so chill? He's probably so chill because lots of people buy from this guy. He's used to it. It's second nature. You know, I do this all day. I made 3 sales before we got on this call. Come on. Like, even if it's your first sale, that's the kind of attitude you want to give. It's like, dude, come on. I made 3 sales before I even got here. I'm not worried about, like, I'm not going to die if you don't take it. Dude, this is the best for you, not necessarily for me. Like, all
Mhm.
I get out of this is $3,000. All you get out of this is a changed life.
Yeah.
So who has more skin in the game here, dude?
Yeah.
Not me. It's you
Yep.
that needs this. It's you that should be begging to buy this. That's the kind of attitude you need to have. I'm not going to tell you to say that to their face, but that's the kind of attitude you need to have when they are at the point where they're making a purchasing decision. And the best way to do this, I'm going to dive deep into this. This is the last thing I'm going to say before I end off. I'm going to dive deep into the objection handling and like how to make sure the sale closes. A lot of people get into this explaining their price thing, or they want to, oh, why won't you take it? What's holding you back? The only thing you need to do after you drop the price is press on paying. And that's why you're going to notice when I go over my pitch, I ask a ton of questions that build ammunition, right? I ask questions
Good.
like, how long have you been wanting to do this? Are you happy with where you're at? What are some of the things you've tried? How long have you tried those things? Are you committed to making a change? Are you committed to hitting your goal? Do you believe that with my help you can actually achieve your goal in the time frame that you want to hit it? So all these questions are ammo, right? So then they're like, you know what? I don't know. I need to think about it. I asked the question, how long have you been thinking about it? Okay, Brandon, you need to think about it. But you told me you've been thinking about this for the last 6 months. So what more, like, what's going to change in one day? Do you need 6 months in a day to think? Like, 6 months in a day is the magic number. 61 days is the magic number, or not 6 months. That's wrong math, but you guys get what I mean.
Yeah.
That's the magic number that makes you make a decision. Obviously not. Again, I'm not saying it in that way, but that's the vibe. Again, are you happy with where you're at? Brandon, you told me you're not happy with where you're at. You told me you want to hit this goal in the next 2 months. You told me your reason for wanting to hit this goal is because you want to buy a house for your family next year. If you spend another 3 months to think about it, and it takes 5 months to get you to where you want to be, how are you going to have a house by next year, Brandon?
Not.
Okay, Brandon, and this is why this question is so powerful. This is one of the biggest, most powerful questions for belief. You ask them, and I'm going to go through my pitch on the next call or the other one after. You ask them, okay, what kind of support do you need help? Like, what kind of support do you need to hit your goal? Okay, if you had that kind of support, would you hit your goal? Okay, cool. And sometimes I ask it after the presentation, sometimes I ask it before. I say, okay, do you believe with my help and that kind of support, you can hit your goal of 50K in 5 months? Oh yeah, dude, if I had your help and you helped me with XYZ, I could definitely hit my goal 50K in 5 months. Okay, sweet. Now at the end of the call, and you're like, I don't know. It's like, what don't you know about? You told me if you had my help with this specific thing, you for sure would hit your goal in 5 months of 50K. You told me you would hit that. Do you not believe that anymore? Right? If like, you know, you already went through all the work of booking the call, getting on the call, going through all of your goals. Now you're at the cliff of hitting those goals. All you got to do is jump. But instead, you want to come off the call, go back all the way to the beginning, think about it again, book another call, get on another call, go through it all again, just to be at the same place you are today. Would you rather be here in 5 months, or would you rather be at your goal in 5 months? What is it going to be? You know, what's going to change? Nothing's going to change. You know, especially when someone says, "Oh, I just need a few days to think about it." I'll be like, "Okay, is what's going to change in the next few days?" Or if someone says, "Oh, I need to do research and just look into this." Well, I am the expert at this. So if you have any questions and you want to do any research, don't go look at biased information. Why don't you ask the person that is doing it and knows as much as you probably can ask? You know, that question doesn't come up so much in like program stuff. That usually comes up if you have like product sales, like you're selling like a home water system or something. Like, I need to research it. It's like, perfect, man. I'm the expert on this system. So if you have any questions, ask me. Right. But that's that's how you push people over the edge. It's just like, you just throw everything they told you back in their face. Like, just press on pain, press on pain, press on pain. Like, you told me this. Didn't you say this? You said that. You said this, right? And that's why I asked, are you going to be committed to making a change today? So then, bro, how can they tell you not today at the end? It's like, you told me you'd be committed to making a change. You're not happy with where you're at. With my help, you're going to get to where you're at. Like, you told me all these things that's giving me a yes today, just to turn around and say no. And if you find you're someone that struggles with this, one question we ask for one of the programs we do sales for, one thing we ask at the very beginning, we say, perfect, let's get started on the call. Just real quick before we get started, if we go through everything and we find out you're a good fit and it's a yes, awesome, we can get started today. But if we also go through it and we find out that you're not a good fit and it's a no, that's completely fine as well. All that I ask is you give me a yes or a no at the end of the call. No maybes or I need to think about it. Does that work with you? Yeah, for sure, man. Okay, cool. Let's jump into it. So now they also promised you a yes or a no. Right. And you can do that if you find that you're getting a lot of maybes or I need to think about it and stuff like that. If you're getting straight answers with the pitch you're using now, you don't need to worry about adding that. Maybe you could, it's all about experimentation and what works for specific offers with specific type of people. But does that make sense?
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. Dude, this has been absolutely incredible. It's going to be so much value.